Hi. Clearly, we are not Rob and Christy. Christy hasn't gone brunette. And although I could say Jimmy probably has just as much hair as Pastor Rob.
Mine's just a little bit easier to see because it's darker.
Yeah, that's right. You could be a Pastor Rob. But you may be wondering why myself, Sandra, Onida and Jimmy are with you tonight. Pastor Rob and Christy are not able to join you here tonight because Hazel, who is Christy's mother, is celebrating her birthday, and it is such a unique moment for the family. I think I don't think they've ever had a time where they could celebrate and be in the same country as a family. So, of course, we've given them the night off tonight to be able to enjoy that. And so you are blessed with us. You are blessed with three of the pastoral team here tonight to answer any questions that you may have in these current times that we are in and travelling in. I see right now we've got Grant who's joined us, Chris Prentice, Kelly Walden. Hi, guys. Great to have you join us. So good to be here. So Jimmy and Onida. Sorry, Onida. Tell me, how have you coped with hearing the good news on the weekend? Was it just momentous for you, or are you looking forward to more good news, hopefully, this weekend?
Yeah, it's amazing how extra 20 kilometres can create a bit of a happy dance in the whole family and a sense of freedom. It's almost like you're breaking out of a cage or something. Kind of makes me understand how animals feel in a zoo environment, I suppose, in some sense as well. And just happy birthday to Hazel as well. That's wonderful. My parents are far away as well, so I fully understand how joyful it is to be able to celebrate together as well, isn't it?
Oh, it's fabulous.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was excited. This little extrovert was quite happy that the boundary restriction has extended a little bit. It means that I can actually interact with more people now, which is a positive for me. I think the last 6 months it's mostly been seeing people to go in and film for church online, or when I go to the supermarket, which is a bit of an adventure. So that makes me happy. And I think of a lot of local businesses too, like cafes and restaurants that have outdoor dining. I think it's amazing for some of our local businesses to be able to open up a little bit more as well. Yeah, that's always good for the community.
And we hope that happens this Sunday. Premier Andrews is looking and hinting at the fact that we will see more restrictions ease. So we're very much looking forward to that. It's quite extraordinary how it feels extravagant to be able to drive 25 kilometres. Like, I went just about 10 kilometres today and I felt like I was being naughty. Then I reminded myself, oh, no, I'm not being naughty. I'm allowed to do this. So, yes, I'm obviously enjoying the freedoms. Great to have Heather and Kate and Zizi. Hi, everyone. Great to see you us. It's wonderful. Feel free to, if you've got any questions for us, we're here just to answer some. But I do have some questions for us just to get us into the mood, and hopefully, based on what we share tonight, please just write your questions in the chat and we will aim to get to them. Yes, Emma, I am being a little bit naughty, but no, I'm allowed to go 10 kilometres.
I'm glad that I can go to the beach now. Like 5Ks for me doesn't include the beach. So
it does.
So now I can actually go to the beach. So didn't make the most of it the last 2 days, but I will. Friday's a public holiday, so might sneak down to the beach in between assignments.
Yeah.
Well, you should be one eager beaver on this grand final day. You must be pretty, stoked.
Yeah, it's I obviously Geelong is home in a sense, and I don't often miss being in Geelong, but Geelong, when the Cats playing in a grand final, is there's a buzz about the place when that happens. So I'm thinking of that, but I'm really excited for it. Em's saying, how often do I normally go to the beach? Not as much as I used to when I lived in Torquay, but I do. The beach is my happy place in a lot of ways. So
that's awesome. Well, okay. Well, just to kick it off, I've got a question for you both, and I'm also happy to answer it myself. What are you guys getting out of the Word at the moment? What is there a scripture? Is there something that God's really highlighting personally for you?
Well, I'm happy to jump in there, Jimmy, if that's all right.
Go for it.
Well, I've often found being in kids' church, it helps to immerse yourself in what you're actually trying to, convey to the kids or trying to impart in a spiritual sense as well. So I have been spending a lot of time just reflecting on the fruits of the Spirit, because that's what we're doing in kids' church at the moment. And it's been absolutely beautiful. And I love how God always allows you to experience that fruit of the Spirit, but also to grow that fruit of the Spirit. And every week, as we've been progressing, through the weeks, I've really felt a sense of that, and been really asking him to reveal how that looks in my life at the moment as well. And then, obviously, fruits of the Spirit and emotions and all of that is the Psalms, isn't it? It's just such a beautiful place to be able to express your emotions and to see that God answers and he understands that emotion. At the moment, like Psalm 17 or Psalm 27, there where David says, "Hear my prayer, I cry out to God." I mean, we've all been crying out to God, haven't we? So it's just such a beautiful thing to know that it resonates with God's heart and he understands, how we're feeling at the moment. So that's been really good. And Pastor Christy and Pastor Rob have often said to take small nuggets and to reflect on that for a while, to not just read and read and read, but let that head knowledge become heart knowledge. So I really love doing that. So I'll stay with one psalm for quite a while, and every day as I read it, it will reveal something new. So that's beautiful.
Oh,
the fruits of the Spirit are in Galatians 5.
Asking that question there. What chapter is 7 fruits of the Spirit? Galatians 5. Is it, Onida?
Yeah, 22 to 23.
Yeah. So that's great. So if you're wanting to really, I think the fruits of the Spirit is quite amazing. Is there a particular fruit of the Spirit for you, Onida, that God is highlighting as a bit of a challenge, or he's like just saying, I want you to focus on that one?
There is. I found the week that I was doing the video on patience particularly interesting, even as far as the filming and the editing and everything. The girls were giggling, and we got 2 hours worth of footage, and it's a 5-minute video that I'm supposed to create. So from the get-go all the way through, and even in home life, like a lot of things were just teaching me about patience that week, and how important it is to remain patient and to allow God into your space and to allow him to just fill you afresh and bring that calm and that, that peace back again.
Yeah, wonderful. I think patience is probably the one word that we could say we are all needing in these times. Would you not say? I think we're all being tested in the area of patience. So how about you, Jimmy? What word is God highlighting for you particularly right now? What's feeding you?
I've been looking at a few different things through lockdown. So for Em and I, in our Young Adults Connect group, we've gone through the book of Ephesians and the book of James. And then we decided, right, let's look at the minor prophets. And we're like, right, we'll start at the start. And so we went to Hosea, read chapter 1, and I was like, this is hard to understand. So at the moment, I'm kind of doing some research and reading up on Hosea and the minor prophets. So that's really cool to explore that. But in my personal side of things, been looking at a lot of what Paul wrote when he was in prison, and taking encouragement from that. And I did that intentionally because obviously he's in prison, so he's in a lockdown of sorts, and the encouragement that he's able to provide. And so that's brought me some encouragement. I think one of my messages I preached for Bayside Church Online was from a time when he was in prison in Ephesians. And yeah, so I'm just taking some great encouragement from that, and also been reading.
Isn't it amazing that he was in prison and yet was encouraging others? And we can take that on as personal encouragement in the times that we've been in.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think of Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I think that's a verse that's often misquoted and misused. And it's simply, you know, Paul saying, I can overcome, I can endure, I can persevere, I am content through Christ who gives me strength. And so for me, that's been a great source of encouragement and strength in this time, to just be like, you know what, I have Jesus, I can get through this. Like, ultimately I can get through this. So that's been a real encouragement for me, for sure. What about you, Sandra?
Yeah, well, for me, there's been a number of scriptures that have really spoken to me this time, and that I've just been really meditating on. This week for me personally has been Exodus 33:14, where God says to Moses, my presence is with you and I will give you rest. And so I've been really focused on the fact of reminding myself there is not a single moment of the day that the presence of God is not with me. Often, I don't know about you, but I often get, busy with the day. I plan out the day, and you guys all know that I'm a bit of a planner. And yet I can forget that God's presence is with me. And so when I'm racing ahead, and maybe ahead of what God's wanting, it's like a little nudge back to go, hey, God, here you are. It's really just drawing on the friendship of God, really growing in intimacy with God, and just enjoying his presence. And I think that's one of the big learnings that I've had in this time. And also, like Onida, I've been very fixed on 1 Corinthians 13:1, especially since we're focusing on love at the moment. And the first thing it says in 1 Corinthians 13:1 is love is patient. And that is also a fruit of the Spirit. It's also what love is. Of course, love is other things. It's kindness, it's being gentle, self-controlled, suffering long. All the things it don't come to us naturally, and yet it's only through hardships and hard times that produces those things. And so I've been drawing strength from that, which has been really, really good. So there's some of the scriptures.
I love that. And there's a question here from Grant while we're talking about what we've been getting out of the Word. So Grant asks, what are your favourite books in the Bible?
Ooh, good question. I love Ephesians. It's just one of the most compact, amazing epistles, pastoral epistles. It's just phenomenal, written by Paul. There's so much in that little book that I draw strength from. Obviously, the Psalms as well, the Proverbs, and of course the Gospels. I mean, there's heaps that I love. What about you guys?
I'd have to agree with Psalms. As I said, I just love the expression of emotion and the authenticity of it and the rawness of it sometimes, that people are like, come on, God, where are you? And I love that. I love that it gives me an opportunity to actually express, some of those emotions to God as well. How about you, Jimmy?
I think my all-time favourite book in the Bible is Joshua. And he's one of my favorite Bible characters. So Joshua is definitely there. And a few of my life scriptures come from the book of Joshua as well. And, if I go to the New Testament, Gospel of John is my favorite gospel. I love the language. I love the depth of it. And the book of Acts, just seeing the early church spark into motion and into life, and just the different journeys that that Paul and the Christians and the church just went on. So they're three of my favorites, but there are a number of books that I enjoy, like the prison epistles and 1 Peter as well, because Peter's a boss. I can see a lot of myself in Peter. I relate to Peter quite a bit. So
I must say I agree with the Acts as well. I just love their boldness and their passion as well. It's just it's so inspiring and kind of gets you into the mood to go out and, go and do some God stuff.
It reminds us to be bold with our faith, and coupled with Joshua as well. Now we have a question from Lama, which I would love to direct to Onida. And I know Pastor Rob has actually written a really great blog on this topic as well. But Onida, how do we speak to our children about Halloween from a Christian perspective without being a martyr? And great topic as we're coming up to the 31st of October.
That's right. And look, we have some options that we can talk about as well. For a start, it needs to be seen as a day of remembrance. That is where it started. It's a pagan tradition, the same as Christmas was a pagan tradition originally as well. And so from a Christian perspective, to know the background of it is so important. And then to decide as a family, how do you want to allow your children to embrace that? So at Bayside Church, we offer an alternative that is a little bit lighter. It's actually called Let Your Light Shine Party. And normally we would meet in person, but you could also this year it will be on Zoom. So we'll have a little Zoom party for the little ones. They've all received a little activity pack, with some little mementos in for the Let Your Light Shine Party, because yes, there is a lot in the marketplace and a lot of it has been commercialized. Yes, we want to remember those that have, gone to heaven and that are no longer here with us. But as Christians, we know that they are eternally with God. And that is the difference between being a Christian as to the rest of the world. So we know where our loved ones are, and we know that, yes, we remember them fondly, but we can remember them. We'll see them again when we see them in heaven. And that's how I explained it to my children. Did I allow my children to participate in going out? I did, but I never allowed them to dress in something that was not in line with our family values. And I always accompanied them, because there's a lot of things and I don't even know if children will be allowed to do anything like that this year. But as I said, at Bayside Church, we do have an option called the Let Your Light Shine Party, and it's been a huge hit over the years. And I think a lot of families prefer doing something like that.
And how important is it to also find bridge building opportunities rather than being completely separated from culture and activity? Utilising it in a way where you can witness, where you can reflect your values and not be completely separated. What would you say to that, Onida?
Absolutely. We are supposed to be showing love everywhere we go, and even in this season, finding new ways and creative ways to reach our neighbour and to bridge that gap, as you were talking about, Sandra. So, allowing our children to join their friends and not to feel excluded from something like this, but finding healthy ways and ways that are in line with your family's values is the way to go, and to pray about it. Pray about it as a family, have a discussion about it, and decide what is best for your family. I think that's the most important. Being united as a family about those decisions is what will give you the success.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Onida. There was a little quick fun question from Caitlin a little earlier on, asking us what has been our most embarrassing moment to date. Now, I don't know why you want to ask us that. So I have thought about this. The most embarrassing one obviously comes to mind because it happened early in my youth. If you can remember, unfortunately this year a lot of Year 12s couldn't do their formal, which is a sad thing. But when I did Year 12, I obviously had a Year 12 formal, and like all girls, you get dressed up to the nines, you have a beautiful frock. And I went to the formal, and then there was an after party. That's a common thing to go to after it. Now, we happened to have our after party at the Albert Park Lake, and some bright chap decided to push me into the lake with my frock and all. So that was an embarrassing moment, one that I will never forget. How about you, Onida?
Oh, you've put me on the spot. I wasn't prepared for this. I'm going to be honest. My children were in childcare already, so they would probably have been maybe 2 and 3. And I was working full time at that time in South Africa. And that day I left, and they wanted to stay at home. So I left. I let them stay at home and worked the whole day, and then got busy during the day and didn't really think about it again. And at the end of the day, happily drove to their childcare and got out and walked up the little driveway, and their teacher went completely pale, and she said, "I haven't seen your children all day." And I said, "What do you mean? Where are they?" And I still blank, completely Dory blank. And I completely forgot that they didn't even go that day. So that was very embarrassing for me.
Where were they?
They were at home.
Oh.
They were fine.
Glad to hear it. And Eugenie.
See, this is hard. This is hard for me because there's probably a few. When you're someone like me who'll give anything a go and likes to not take life too seriously at times, you put yourself in some interesting positions. But I think the worst one, most traumatic for me, was, I think I was 15 or 16, and the high school that I was at, our inter-house competitions were fiercely competitive. And so I was playing for my house in the house footy grand final. And so you've got the whole school. So you had about 1,500 students, teachers, everyone there watching this game at lunchtime. And I took a mark with not long to go in the game. The siren went, and so I had this opportunity to be a hero. And in my head, being a 15-year-old boy, I'm just like, you're going to be the hero right now. Like, everyone's going to love you. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. And I came in to take a shot at goal and had a complete air swing and missed the ball in front of the entire school. So that wasn't ideal. But yeah, so I thought I'd be a hero. It went completely the other way. I did redeem myself the next year. I won us the house footy grand final the next year, so I redeemed myself, but that was a long 12 months.
Oh, well done. We all get humbled sometime in our life, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Oh dear, that's great. Well, on a more serious note, some of the other questions that I have for us tonight includes, how have you actually managed lockdown, and more particularly, what are the lessons that you guys have learned through lockdown? I believe as hard as lockdown has probably been, particularly if you're in Melbourne, there are lessons that we can learn in this time that are a real gift. And so, Jimmy, do you want to kick off with maybe one lesson that you have learnt and how you've coped in this time?
Yeah, it has been a challenging time. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that. I think I've managed to navigate it better than I expected. I'm a very social person, so enjoy that time. But something that I think for me is to not take church and the ability to be social with people for granted. I think, the three of us, we're on staff for church. So going to church, sometimes in your head, you're like, okay, I've got to do this, and this. And it can sometimes become about making sure that you've done the things that you need to do, rather than actually spending that time enjoying corporate worship, corporate prayer, and those sorts of things. And so I think that's probably been a big thing for me, is not taking that for granted. But on the flip side, I've enjoyed the ability to have a little bit of space. I do like being busy, but I've also discovered that I actually don't mind a little bit of space as well. And on Sunday night in our men's discussion, we had Matt Murphy join us, and he said that he's taken to not calling it lockdown, but calling it a slowdown.
Great.
And I really like that, because I think it puts a more positive spin on it, and the slowing down has actually allowed for rest, for creative ideas, for probably spending some time working on some projects and some other things that you don't often fill your tank with doing, but fill your tank. So they're probably the two big things for me.
I think that's so key, because I think it's the slowdown that we've actually needed.
Yeah.
What was going to take us to stop? What was going to take us to listen? I don't think anything was, other than a pandemic, and a global one at that. So it's quite fascinating how the slowdown has given heaps of people opportunities to really reflect and look at life, differently.
Absolutely. I think that there's great stock in that. And I mean, for me, I know, and even before the last 6 months, before COVID and everything, I knew that I hear clearest from God when I stop, when I actually be still. I hear from God. But in life, I like seeing people, and, whatever church event that's on that I can go to, I want to go to it because I want to see people, I want to do stuff. And so it didn't always slow down. So this time it's actually probably been some of the most profound and deep moments that I've had with God has been in this time, allowing myself to be still, to rest in Him, and mostly because I've been forced to do it. But it's helped me to see the benefit of that. So I'm really enjoying that part of it.
That's great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's really good.
I see some comments there from Heather. Matt is awesome. Wise man. Totally agree. He is. If you're watching Matt Murphy, we've got fans here. And we love the slowdown, not the lockdown. I think that's a great way to rephrase it.
Yes.
How about you, Onida?
Well, actually, one of my lessons also resonated with Jimmy's, but I just called it rhythm, because I feel like my rhythm was very fast. It was very go, go, go before lockdown. And even, I must honestly say, even during the first lockdown, my internal little mouse was still running at top speed, if that makes any sense. And I was just like, I don't know what to do with all this energy, and I don't know where I'm going, and
And I've witnessed your energy, believe me.
Well, I thank God for my energy a lot of the time. But anyway, and so I needed to just stop and start listening to God. And I suppose, that's what He's always wanted us to do. So I agree with Jimmy in that regard. But another one that I'd love to talk about is just connection. And, I've loved being able to, in the afternoon for lunch, go to the kitchen and see if there's anyone around that's able to have lunch with me. And it's my daughter's year 12 year this year, so it's been beautiful. There's no other opportunity that we would have had to be able to have lunch together on a regular basis during the week, with not being on leave or not being unwell, So that's been absolutely beautiful, to just refresh each other, love each other in a new way. And I suppose talking about that and talking about love and finding ways to love each other, anew and think creatively. How do you love your connect group? How can you send little encouraging messages to each other? And isn't that the gospel? Isn't that God's heart, is to find ways to love each other and to never grow tired of that, I suppose. Never grow weary of exploring ways of loving each other and doing those good deeds. So I've really loved that. And here's a wonderful thing that we did. So our family's been in Australia for 11 years. And during this lockdown, for the first time ever, we had a whole family Zoom with everybody, and we saw each other, and it was like a little reunion, but not in person, but it was still so beautiful and so special to be able to have that connection, with cousins and see babies and, You would have the same. I mean, you've had babies born in your family recently.
Yes, definitely. And just to see them, and I mean, I guess that's one of the things we all look forward to, is holding family and friends and being close to them. So
yeah. And not everyone may know this, Onida, but I know that you've picked up some new skills when it comes to video filming and editing in this time. So, here's an opportunity to give Feagle Tales a bit of a plug.
Yes. Outstanding.
Yeah,
being able to learn how to do videos on your own and edit them.
Yep.
Yeah, look, I must honestly say, when I saw, I think it was the 15th of March or 16th of March was the last time we actually had church together. Maybe the week after, I'm not entirely sure. But I saw the last kids go out of kids' church, and I thought, I wonder when I'm going to see you guys again, thinking maybe, 2 weeks from now or, something like that, like not too far in the distant future. So that was hard to see it go for longer and longer and longer. And a lot of my love language was caught up in being able to serve God in that way, and to be able to spend time. And in all honesty, I actually found that fueled me, for the midweek admin-y kind of stuff. And so I had to release that, because what else do you do? There was no way that I was able to meet with the kids other than on Zoom or other ways. And then God downloaded this beautiful idea of reinventing Feagle, our beautiful eagle from Bayside Church, and giving him fresh life on an online platform. And so it has been, very creative, a big, big, big learning curve. But all hats off to the media team, like seriously. It's been good, and it's been exciting and creative to be able to do that. And now Feagle's online, and the gospel can go, anywhere that God wants it to go, really, because as far as YouTube can go.
And I guess beforehand, you probably didn't have the opportunity or the space to really reflect on doing that, because week in, week out, you're sort of focused on doing kids' church every week and delivering the lessons. And you are still doing that on Zoom. But I guess the slowdown has meant there has been space for you to reflect on what's new that we can create, what's fresh and going to be relevant right now. So I think that's been such an amazing outcome through the slowdown.
Absolutely. And Sandra, what about you? What have you learnt or journeyed through this time?
Yeah, look, I have to say, I feel like God's been doing a bit of a deep work in me this year. I think early in the first time we had the lockdown, I was personally struggling, but struggling in the sense that I felt like I was not as joyful as I normally have been in my life. I felt, that joy was sort of missing. I was kind of doing everything, doing all the motions, but joy just wasn't there. So I really sought the Lord about that, and he's kind of been taking me on a bit of a journey through this time about really looking at the things that suck joy. Okay, and so some of the things that suck joy are frustrations. And so, what are the things that zap your energy? So things like frustrations, things that I can't control. As I mentioned earlier on, I'm a bit of a planner. So I guess my Enneagram type, and for those who don't know what Enneagram is, I'm an Enneagram type 3, which means I like to achieve. So I'm always trying to get ahead to do things. But, whilst that can look like a positive, the negative side of that is when things don't happen in your time, it's being okay with that. It's letting go. But sometimes frustrated because things aren't happening in your time. And this year has been a year of things not happening in our time. So, by and large, it's kind of learning to go with the flow. It's learning to be in the moment, which is why I was sharing earlier on about the presence of God is with me and he gives me rest. So I really have been hunkering in on the day, Sufficient is today. So, Lord, I might have my list of things that I want to do, but really at the end of the day, I submit that to you, and you guide me today as to what you want me to focus on, and sufficient is today, and I'm not going to worry. And I guess worry is another thing that is a joy sucker. So all the things that suck joy, I have been trying to eliminate and form new habits. And I feel like joy is being restored, and it's been restored in my relationships, particularly with my sister. I live with my sister, as you know, and I think this time of slowdown has been an absolute gift for our personal relationship. We've been, like you, Onida, been able to connect, been able to spend time with each other. We're not ships in the night, coming and going. We've been doing 3 meals a day together and exercising together and sharing together. So it's been a profound time, and I don't regret this year at all, because I think it's enabled us to, or for me personally, look at those things.
I know that there are people that have found this exceptionally hard as well, though.
Yeah,
and mental health has been a big concern, for us as Victorians all around. Yeah. And so, I fully understand. Like, even for my 2 young adults now, or almost young adults, not being able to go out with their friends, not being able to see them regularly. We don't live where we used to. We've moved during lockdown, so they're not within 5 kilometers of anyone they know, really.
Yeah.
So that's been, I've seen the mental health challenges of, experienced some times of concern for myself as well. We're all human, and so we have to acknowledge that sometimes it's been tough as well.
Absolutely. I think we're created for community. Like when you read the creation story, we're made in the image of God, and God is 3 persons, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So diversity and unity there, and we were created for relationship with him and for each other. And so when you remove that ability to connect, it's a struggle. And I think everybody in some way has walked a struggle in this time, and it's okay to have that. I'm grateful that in 2020 there are so many resources and organizations that are available, like Lifeline, Beyond Blue, places like that we can reach out to, and we've got support networks. One of the things that I felt the Holy Spirit speak to me in the early days of COVID and things shutting down was to see opportunity rather than limitation. And so I've been trying to remind myself of that throughout this time, as a way of, we live in 2020. So, okay, I can't be in the same room as my family because they're all in regional Vic, but I can FaceTime them. And Em can do the same, like all her family's in South Australia. So who knows when we can go back over there to see them. But it's like, okay, we can jump on the phone, and that's not to dilute or to diminish any struggles that we have. But I mean, that's probably another lesson for me, is to see opportunity rather than limitation. And I think that there is a lot of good opportunities that are going to come from this time, from this slow down, to refresh, to recalibrate, to do all of those things. Opportunity arises in that, like you were saying, Onida, for you with your daughter to be able to have lunch together more than you've probably been able to do in a number of years, and things like that. So I think it's been a challenging time, but within darkness there is always a speck of light if we go looking for it.
Absolutely. But for those who may be struggling, it's really important to have a holistic approach to it.
Yeah.
So Jackie Cousins, who I think has joined us here tonight, shared quite a couple of months ago some really good tips, particularly if you're struggling with mental health, in how to, sort of get the help that's required. We've got a little visitor.
We do have a guest.
I saw that, thought people. Hello, Beagle.
The joys of live TV. Gotta love it.
Literally. I do want to continue that point because it's quite important that there are things that, if you're struggling, we need to be able to reach out and, yes, absolutely, if you're struggling with things like depression or anxiety, please visit your GP. But it's not just about visiting your GP. It's also about reaching out perhaps to a friend who can walk alongside you. It's about eating well, getting good physical exercise, even if it's just a short walk around the block, talking to someone. So, it's really important to get the help that is available out there. You've got a spiritual community, you've got a broader community that has incredible resources, and we want to ensure that people have access to those. And so, I just want to make a point there if anyone's listening tonight who may be struggling in that area.
Yeah.
And Grant says, woohoo, Feagle.
Yeah, come closer.
What Feagle learned in lockdown?
Go down. There you are.
Awesome.
Shenanigans and fun of the Weir household.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see Feagle. It's been a couple of weeks since I went in and joined Feagle and Scruff and Fluff to film an episode of Feagle Tales. So it's good to see you again, Feagle.
Yeah, that's right. You're going to be, Jimmy and some of the boys from Bayside will be in the Let Your Light Shine video actually coming up next week. Isn't that right, Feagle? Yeah.
Great.
See you.
Brilliant. Now, one of the other questions that I think Lema asked is, I have an NIV Bible and looking at updating my Bible, what's a recommended version? Now, obviously, heaps of versions out there, but what's your favourite at the moment, guys? What would you recommend?
I'm reading the Holman Christian Standard Bible. I really enjoy that. I mean, behind me, I've got about 10 different translations, but use some of those for sermon prep, for Bible college units and things like that. But my favourite to sit and unpack is the Holman for me.
Yep, great. So there's one for you, Lema, and Anita, for you.
Well, I'm going to maybe think about two scenarios. Yeah, if you want to do Bible study as a family together and you want kids to be able to understand the scriptures that you're reading, I would actually suggest the NIRV, which is the reader's version of the NIV. And it's just a little bit more simplified and easier to understand for kids, and maybe for parents as well sometimes.
Yep, absolutely.
But a personal favorite at the moment is the Passion Translation. It's just absolutely beautifully written. I think it only has Psalms and the New Testament, maybe Proverbs as well. It doesn't cover the whole Old Testament, or has that been updated? Because my version only has those.
Yeah, I don't think it's the full Bible yet. I think they're writing it.
I think there was another book or two. I don't know whether it was Isaiah or something like that, which has been done Passion, but that's separate on its own. I think it was Isaiah, but yeah, it's still not the whole Bible yet.
But it's very descriptive and very beautifully presented scripture.
Yeah, I concur. Mine at the moment is the Passion Translation, and it's just so fresh and so beautifully written. So if you're wanting something like that, as well as I tend to flip around between the Holmans and NLT as well, which is a New Living Translation, just for a simplified language. Recommend any of those, Lema, hopefully. And I know others have made some recommendations in the chat as well. Chris Prentice has said you can get Genesis and Isaiah in the Passion Translation. So that's great. But I think I'd be holding out to get the whole thing as a Bible. You probably get it online, no doubt.
And I still enjoy the Message Bible as well, I must say. Just the conversational tone of it, and it's like you're reading, story as a whole. For children, specifically younger children, there is the Jesus Storybook Bible, which is beautifully written. And what they've done with that Bible is every single story points back to Jesus. So even the Old Testament stories point back, and at the end, it all tells the story of Jesus, which is the Bible.
Fantastic. Zinzi says, and Jimmy might want to post this comment, a very dear friend of mine, Trishy, gifted me a Joyce Meyer. Oh, I found it very easy to read. Oh, bless Trishy. Absolutely. That's gorgeous. That's a great recommendation too.
And it's a nice little encouragement for you here, Onida.
A little bit of love from the next room. Gorgeous. So what are you guys looking forward to? We're in close to November. What are you guys looking forward to now?
Well, I'll give it a go. So Shaylin, our daughter, finishes year 12 next week, and then she does her final exam. So I am very much looking forward to be done with school.
No, and you're not far to go.
No, not far to go at all. And I feel like it is a transition for our family into a new season. And I think a lot of people are actually feeling like there is a bit of transition or a new season or something like that happening, like maybe a new job or a new house for yourself, or maybe, just a new time, like even coming out of restrictions. Doesn't it feel like a bit of a transition as well?
Yeah, definitely. We are definitely turning a leaf.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that transition time. And then I'm looking forward to the actual long-term lessons that are going to come out of this lockdown. That's what I'm really looking forward to see what God's actually doing in the bigger picture, or what's happening in the master plan. Because at the moment it feels like we entangled in all the threads at the bottom. But he knows what he's doing ultimately, doesn't he? So I look forward to, maybe, I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, or, maybe I'll be in heaven and I can just ask him.
Yeah. Sure. It'll be one of those questions that you get to heaven straight away and ask God, do you think, or maybe not?
Yeah. How about you?
Probably a few things. I mean, I've loved the fact that I've had footy and a lot of live sport this second part of the lockdown or the slowdown, whatever you want to call it, because that's been cathartic for me. I'm just a little bit disappointed that footy season is going to be over by the time I can actually go to places. I can't actually go to a game of footy at all this year, but I can get back out on the golf course, which is nice. I don't do it often. But I can see a friend or two and go for a hit on the golf course, which will be nice. But I think the biggest thing, like I mentioned before, will be once we can go back to regional Victoria and be able to see my family. I got I've got 3 nephews. They're 4, 3, and 1, and we've missed all their birthdays this year because of lockdown. And I know that everybody else has had things like this, so this is very much a first world selfish kind of problem. But I've missed seeing them, and my 1-year-old nephew's just started walking. So missing some of those things hasn't been great. So I'm looking forward to that, and especially for Em being able to go to South Australia to see her family, because it's been almost a year since we've seen them, and we would normally take time twice a year to go over there and see her family. And so it's been nearly a year since we've seen her family. So for her, I'm hoping things open up a bit for her sake so that we can go over there.
Yeah, great.
What about you, Sandra?
Yes, well, look, similarly, as you mentioned earlier, Onida, 2 great nieces have been born this year, and one of them's close by, so can kind of see at the curb. I'm looking forward to walk to the park, but I'm actually looking forward to just having a family gathering, a family around a table, and friends, and those simple things I don't think I'll ever take for granted again. just being able to hold people and eat with them, those simple things of life, gathering together. They're the things I'm really, really looking forward to. Of course, the holiday won't go astray, somewhere nice, even if it's regional Victoria. We'll make the most of it. But they're all things that we can, I guess, that saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Well, I think that applies to the situation for all of us.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's hard to try and start planning for Christmas, isn't it? Because you don't want to be too hopeful, but you don't want to be unprepared.
No, I think
yes, very much so.
A very, hopefully we be able to gather with our loved ones at Christmas, and I think that's what Daniel Andrews is hoping we can do too. So whatever COVID normal looks like at Christmas for all of us.
Yeah.
What are the things that you're grateful for this year that we've achieved as a church? What are the things that stand out for both of you as a church community?
Well, if I look back to kind of like November last year, so we launched our vision statement, and then in February this year we launched our mission statement, but also like Devote 3, so a block of initiatives that we wanted to roll out for the next 3 years leading up to Bayside's 30th birthday. And it's been a strange year. We've spent 7 months not being really able to see anyone, but if I look through the list of things that we had on there, we've ticked off nearly every one of them. That even while we've been confined to just our homes mostly, or watching things on a screen, we've been able to create and launch our discipleship pathway. We've taken over 200 people through at least the first step. And, we've got the second step coming up again in a couple of weeks. And so that'll take us to over 100 people through that, which if you'd have told me at the start of the year that we wouldn't have had church services or meetings at all in the building from the middle of March to somewhere in 2021, I wouldn't have thought we'd been able to achieve what we have in that regard. And I think the way that, I give massive props to our media team, the way that they have adjusted and been flexible in this time to bring us our online content for our services and things like that. I'm really grateful for talented people that have giftings that I don't have and that others don't have. And that's the joy of being in a community of people. We all have different gifts and talents, and working together, we can do things like do something like this, like our online services. So, I'm really grateful for the way that the team has navigated this, but also the way that our church congregation has really embraced some of these changes that see us tick off some goals in an incredible way.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm thankful that we actually already had the groundwork in place, because we were already live streaming our services. So not a lot had to change. Well, a lot had to change, obviously, but not a lot from a technical perspective had to change. We just had to change how we use those platforms in a new way. And I'm thankful that we already had that in place. Otherwise, it would have been much more trickier to be able to get it all online. And my heart goes out to the smaller churches and how they had to try and navigate all of that as well. So, I'm thankful that we were able to move quickly, and I'm very thankful that we were able to have that camp as well. That was beautiful. Just before lockdown, we were able to come together and bless those wonderful people, all the fireys and their families, through the bushfires. I mean, I can't even believe that was this year as well.
Yes,
it seems like so long ago.
Just before the breakout of the pandemic, I think it was just a week or two beforehand, and to think that we were able as a church community to really give thanks to our emergency services was just such a gift. And, a gift that continues to have an influence. And, I know the people who came along to that weekend were impacted Relationships were formed with some of our Baysiders, and have people have checked us out at Bayside Church. So an absolute blessing to be able to do that this year. And it feels like a long time ago, but it actually wasn't that long.
And even through Church Online, new friendships have developed already. I have a friend now that joined Church Online, and we yet to actually engage and have fellowship together, but we're friends, and that's wonderful, isn't that? It's so weird but awesome.
I've loved that.
I think one of the things we might be facing right now is a little bit of Zoom fatigue and screen fatigue. Now that we've been in this sort of situation for well over 200 days, and so I think I just had 2 weeks off and had a week moving house, but also a week just to recuperate from moving house. And I've chosen that time to not do any Zoom meetings, not to engage anything with screen time, and feel quite refreshed by doing that. Feel like I can get back onto Zoom meetings and connection points. So I just want to speak to anyone who may be feeling a little bit fatigued by screens, that I think it's quite normal, but this is the technology that we have at the moment, and of course we're all looking forward to meeting up in person, but to find some ways to manage it and not let it be something that truly fatigues you out. I
think that's really wise, and I'm looking forward to now, the light at the end of the tunnel with these restrictions easing a little bit. I know for me there's not many parks or places around within 5Ks, but within 25Ks, I've got the beach, plenty of places. So hopefully for many of you as well, the 25Ks allows you to actually get out a little bit, so you're not feeling like you just have to be on a screen because that's all you've got to do. You can actually go for a walk, and starting to be able to be a little bit more social. So I'm grateful for that as well, that as we come out of this.
It's recognising, though, that the benefits that we've had in being able to stay in touch has been due to technology too. So it's making sure that because I'm sure going into the future we're going to still continue to use this technology in some shape or form, even when we are able to meet. And so it's just putting it into probably a little bit more balance as we're able to gather together in some small group.
Pastor Mark Connor actually had a lovely message a couple of weeks ago about taking care of your physical health, and he mentioned in there, as much time as you are busy, you need to try and have time down. So kind of make a rule, as much time as you've been on screen, try and be off screen if you can. Try a little bit, Yeah,
it's balancing that out, which is really key to staying refreshed in these times. So
Absolutely.
We've got a couple of minutes to go. So what's one thing you want to encourage everyone with before we leave tonight? Just a really quick couple of words. Oh, no, actually, here's one for you. Pastor Rob, this is to you. In a couple of words, maybe a sentence, please explain the effect. I can't even say the word. The efficacy.
Efficacy of propitiation.
Propitiation, please.
Sandra, I dare you to say that 3 times fast.
The efficacy of the propitiation. Please explain. So, in a couple of words, Jimmy, go.
I had to look up the definition of efficacy just to make sure that I got it right.
Words. Quick. Go.
Look, that Jesus' love is good for all of us for eternity.
Beautiful. Anita.
I said it before and I say it again. John 3:16 sums it all up. God so loved the world that he gave his only son so that everyone can be, saved. And so it's for everyone. That's not, and it needed atonement, and that is what it's all about. God needed that gift of atonement. Jesus was the sacrifice, and it's for everyone.
Well, tick. So I will.
Are you going to give it? Are you going to give it a try, Sandra? You can't get out of this.
I will say Christ's sacrifice is enough for all. That's my sentence.
Ooh.
I like it.
Because he's the perfect human being and no one else is. So that wraps up tonight. I hope you've enjoyed us standing for Pastor Robin Christie. I hope you will join us again, and hope we're all looking forward to what the news will be this weekend. Stay well, stay healthy, be blessed. We love you heaps and look forward to seeing you at Church Online. Next Tuesday night, Pastor Rob will be doing Facebook Live with Shane Willard and continuing his discussion on the book of Revelation. So you want to stay tuned for that next week. Love you guys. Take care.
All right. Bless you guys.